Hello. Let's see. Some people left thinking I wasn't coming on here. But I'm on here now. I'm pulling some cards for myself. See if anybody drops in before I begin. Otherwise, I'll just begin. So today I wanted to talk about like spirit relationships. Let's see if anybody pops in here. Hello, hello. Do I have chat on? No, I do. Hello. Hi, Punkhead. I'm just waiting for some people to join up here and pull some cards for myself in the meantime. Got the warrior card for me. Haha, yeah, we know. How y'all doing? Whoever's here, make sure you say something. I can't. Why does my chat get? Oh, that's how I see it. See, I'm still fucking learning this. Anyway, how y'all doing? Say hello so I know you're here. I'm just pulling some cards for myself. Oh my gosh. Why wait? That's too many. That's too many fucking cards all over the fucking floor. What's facing upright? Too many cards. Too many cards. How y'all doing? Where is it? Why didn't I just see the chat? Can we just have the chat be visible? There we go. Boom. Hi. Oh my gosh. Now I can actually see everybody. Hello. That's probably what happened last time, is some people got like filtered out. Hey, Consecrated Coffee, what's up? All right. I got a few people in here, so I'll just begin, and whoever joins, and they'll be whatever. So, it's been on my mind a lot lately, but you know, I've never really been like active in the occult community until very like much more recently, like this past year. And that's because I've been on platforms that are more interactive. Hello. I'm glad y'all are doing well. Good. Missed you too. And I've just it's interesting to see, because I used to just like watch people's like YouTubes kind of quietly, and I would occasionally post my own shit. But I would just see people like describe these experiences, and usually on YouTube it would be like, of course, more in depth, right? And people could really explain what it was like for them, and the energy, the emotions that would come up, how long it might have taken, right, to get a response from a spirit. And then, of course, like the signs and the external things that may be happening, the things in the mundane that might be going on. Whereas, you know, on platforms such as TikTok, are very like fast paced, fast moving. Even like some people on Tumblr, back when Tumblr was really in use. And I feel like things become shortened, and thus when people read it, they're like, oh, like that's what the experience is supposed to be. When really, like, say the format is a meme. And then, of course, there are people who see these memes and think that's like the whole truth, and that's what's up. So, and there's a lot of literature too that is misleading. When we go into like books, I won't name authors, but there's a lot of literature that makes it seem like you're supposed to have the most incredible physical manifestations happening instantaneously when you've never summoned spirits before. I will say that prior to me working with the infernal, on a like aside from, no, I'll say that the spirits I worked with prior to working with the demonic never like, and it could have been that I was at an earlier stage in my psychic development and my ability to execute magic. Um, Even pissed off with the books. Tell me what books are pissing you off. Um, but there's a lot of differences between the spirits I used to work with, my experiences with them, and then the experiences with the demonic. And that is that the demonic are so much more in your face. And by that I mean when they want to make themselves known, they make themselves known. That's not to say there aren't demonic entities that I've had more subtle interactions with, but and usually it starts off very subtle until the connection is more solid, and that's usually done through invocation, um, through a strong, like a long period of time, sometimes for a shorter period of time, depending on what your energy is like, what demon feels about your energy, etc. Um, but I found that like the other gods I used to work with, hello Abby, the other gods I used to work with, like let's think, Nyx, very powerful, primordial deity. Uh, Hecate, very powerful as well. And Hecate may have been the first god to like speak to me in this sort of clairaudient, semi-telepathic, but yet very clear words. And it was I was in a state of emergency. Like, keep in mind, this was all happening when I was still a minor, so I think a lot of deities kept their distance from me because there's only so much a child can handle, considering what I was going through. So they were mainly with me to like protect me. um, and so I was like, trigger warning, I guess. Like I was attempting to end my life, and I just heard Hecate, and I knew it was Hecate. I didn't know how I knew it was Hecate because I never heard her speak before. I like felt her energy before, but maybe it was her energy that told me. I don't know. I don't even like. She just pulled me out of it. She just pulled me out of it. She's like, it's not your time. Like, you have. This is paraphrasing, but she said something to the kind of like, you have more to live for, like. And I came out. I came out of that state of mind for a second. And I happened to be in the bathroom, and I like looked in the mirror, and my little silver pentacle like flashed purple, and I was so skeptical back then, and I was still very much like mostly identifying as an atheist or agnostic, and I was just like, what the fuck. So I was trying to replicate that, ironically that I'm in purple light right now, but I was trying to like replicate that. I was like, it must have reflected something, but like literally that bathroom was facing the woods, and I mean like the wilderness. I mean like no other lights anywhere. So the only lights that could reflect were coming from within the bathroom. It was at nighttime, like, and it was just one little nightlight plugged into the side of the mirror that was yellow. There's no way it was anything, and I still don't have like a rational explanation for that. So I take it as something significant. Um, but that was maybe like the first time a deity really, besides like animal signs or very like ordinary omens, uh, I didn't really get that much till I started, well, once I was an adult, I was working primarily with just Lilith. So that's when I started like experimenting with sexuality and deity work and things like that. And I didn't have like anybody telling me what to expect. I had heard accounts of like other people having those relationships with the demonic. I remember like one woman in particular talking about her experiences with Belial. But it was never, back in those days anyway, it was never expected from the people who really done it that it was to feel anything like sex with another human being. And nowadays I see a lot of people make some claims that are interesting, and I'm not going to like tell everyone what the limitations of the demonic are, but I am skeptical, you know. All right, let me catch up on what y'all have been saying. Expect new things, don't even know a damn thing you explain now, especially 2 years isn't enough study. You were saved too. Was it La Santa? I feel like it was. Who saved you? Yeah, I think like a lot of people have come to expect to have these very overt paranormal type of experiences with the spirits, and I think for that reason a lot of people miss the more subtle things. Don't get me wrong, the cool like obvious signs are incredible, but they should be taken as for they are special. You know, you don't expect them from the entity. Um, because there are more subtle ways in which they, yes, it was La Santissima, I knew it. um they're more willing to communicate with you on a daily basis if you pay attention. That can feel a little bit like you're you can be reading too much into it. That is a danger that you have to check. But as long as you're verifying things, as long as they make sense, as long as you're still grounded in reality, I think it is useful to pay attention to the world around you. And even, and this is me as a chaos magician, because I think I don't really fully subscribe to some stuff that other people just take as fact, because I think of everything essentially starting in the mind, especially when it comes to magic and spirituality. Everything starts in the mind. So I feel like even if it is just my mind doing pattern recognition and seeing symbols where, you know, maybe there isn't divine intervention, but I'm a Satanist, I'm divine. So, in a sense, still divine. But even if it's just coming from within, then that's me communicating with my shadow. That's me communicating with my subconscious, or perhaps even my God self, um, by seeing what am I projecting onto the world around me. That says something to me. That still communicates something to me. So I don't think, you know, I don't criticize too many people for seeing signs where other people would dismiss it, because signs are personal, right? Signs are so personal. You get that gut feeling, you know what you know. Um, are there people who are a little bit delusional? Yeah. But it's like, how are you to discern? Because the way, even if someone experienced something genuine, the way they describe it to you could be, it could be in a way that you're not picking up on it. You're like, that's not what I, you know. And we all have different gifts, right? Let me catch up on what I was saying. Some people I've met overthink it. Yeah, for sure. I think some people also, like, there's the people who overthink it, and there's the people who oversimplify. I think some people are too quick to humanize a lot of divinity, and especially the infernal. And I understand, because the infernal understand us so well. The demonic understand humankind so well, so they know how to like send us a meme, okay? They know how to give us advice on the stock market. They know what flirting is. They know like what we would find funny. They get it, right? So it's, they're very relatable to us. But if we get too comfortable in that, we forget how much stronger they are than us and how much respect we should be giving them. Now, like for me, I'm a little fluid on that. Some people are very strict. Um, like for example, some people like always veil and always wash, you know, a certain part of their body, maybe their hands and their face before they go to the altar, and all, you know, always light the incense in this ritualistic way. And some people are just extremely casual, can communicate with their deities on the couch watching Kim Kardashian, whatever. Like, and I'm like, say what you will about that, but I've had experiences watching movies and literally a spirit was talking to me while I was watching a movie. So there are people who do like that whole and everything in between. I'm somebody that I'm very spontaneous with my rituals a lot of the time. Maybe I sense like an astrological event happening and I'm like, yeah, I want to use that. Um, it was so funny because like my own like ADHD clock wasn't working for when Algol was supposed to be like close or whatever, but I instinctively and intuitively was like pulled, mainly because my spirits were yelling at me, pulling me into the ritual room. I was like, well, it's not until tomorrow, but okay. Um, and I like went into it and then I finished the ritual and I had a beautiful experience and came back out of it and I was like, oh, so it really did happen when I thought it happened. Okay, like it happened before I thought it was going to happen, is what I mean. So trust your gut. I'm someone it's very hard for me to live on like a schedule. That's not something really possible for me right now. I would love for that. In some sense, I always try to make sure that I greet my spirits in some way or speak to them when I wake up and when I go to bed. And at some point during the day. That may be at my altar, that may be in a formal setting, or that may be not formal. It's whatever I have the energy to do because it's something I do to accommodate my disabilities that I'm now like owning up to having because I've been in denial about having them for a while. Let me catch up on what y'all been talking about. All right. The literal bone, it was to her. That's awesome. They know what we understand exactly. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes they push us to move faster. Like I've never worked with Lasanta, but I've definitely right now there's some things that they're pushing me to do, but they're also forcing me to wait on some things and I'm just pulling my own hair out. Okay? Like I am such an impatient bitch. The Celtic stuff. I don't really have like a wide knowledge of Celtic stuff, which is kind of funny because I think I have like some Celtic heritage possibly. I don't know. I don't really like seek it out. So I don't know that much about it. I haven't had the opportunity to passively learn about it or anything. Um, but it's not something I was like particularly drawn to. I find some deities um in the Celtic sort of, can we call it a pantheon? This is how uneducated I am about it. Um, and we'll say pantheon for now in the culture, like that I find interesting. I find the Morrigan very interesting, but I've just never like vibed with that. And it's interesting too with my Norse heritage. Briefly, I was like working with Freya and Odin, but really they initiated me into um, we'll say witchcraft, paganism. I'm not sure. Uh, into polytheism maybe, and I didn't really like connect with them super deeply before other deities stepped in. Were like, actually, we're more appropriate for you. Um, so I think maybe with my ancestral stuff, it's just like, yeah, already did it. You know what I mean? Maybe it's that. So, or it's just that my pull to Satan is so strong, and my pull to Lilith has been so strong. That's what I find interesting about demons is the fact they understand us, support us, and they guide us. They're aware of it or not. Yeah, yeah, exactly. They understand us so well, but like there'll always be things that make us very different, right? Um, I find that demons, if you're not used to working with them, if you've not been aligned with the demon prior or put through the same kind of things that would make you want to reach out to a demon, and you're just somebody kind of reaching out to them just to experiment, which whatever, you do you, but at your own risk, honey. But like when people do that, they're just like, oh my gosh, this demon's so sadistic or this demon's deceptive or whatever. And I'm just like, nah, you're just misinterpreting what the fuck they're saying. Like you're not really listening to them. And I'm not saying that they can't be like violent or anything, like they can, but I don't see them really having too many reasons to like just attack a human being who called on them that's intending to like give them something in return for you know, in a pact or to work with them long term or whatever. But I'm sure with the dabblers they get annoyed. That'd be good. I agree with it pushing us. Her deities line up telling me what to do. Sometimes it's like cricket. Yeah, sometimes it's like I went through like a rough patch a little while ago where I really felt like I couldn't fully connect to Satan, and I was just like feeling guilty about it. I was just like, I don't know. I know it's there. I know he's there. I know he's not cutting me off. So what's wrong with me? You know, and I was just like really stuck on it. It was just that he was like, first of all, I'm ever present with you. So if you're not sensing me, it's because you're used to me, number one. Second of all, sometimes I step back so that other things can come in for you. You know, and other things do. Um, I used to be really strict in thinking like all of my spirit relationships had to have like this amount of time before they got this serious. And although that is highly recommended, I will still highly recommend taking the time. Sometimes serious things happen, like I'm going through Cliffopic initiation, so there are some serious things that I need to take and roll with, um, that have to do with my intentions when I began initiating. So in a sense, I've been committed to that for a while, and I've shown that I'm ready for the next step in that sort of commitment, right? Um, that's tricky for me because I'm so used to like the slow burn, the slow burn into spirit relationships. Let me take a hit and I'll catch up. If y'all are sending me messages, I can catch up. Feel free to respond to anything I've been saying. Where's my lighter? There she is. Found her. It's also your opportunity to take a hit if you haven't already rolled something or got something together. Yes, my videos are age restricted, so I can do it. What's interesting about, because I could never really stick around on Facebook very much, like occult Facebook. Not my place. No, I have like a page, but I haven't posted on it in like over a fucking year. Um, I just the way some people discuss things about spirits can irk me, and that's reflects on me mostly, right? It irks me a little bit because I'm just like, did you take the time to listen to this spirit? Or did you just take like the symbols and the images and the first emotions that hit you, which can come from within you at face value? Because I know when I first circling back a little bit to like Odin and Freya, they were the first deities I ever called into a space. Now, when I was initiating, we'll say like dedicating myself to this particular vein of Wicca, I didn't really believe the gods were anything other than archetypes. Okay, I didn't really believe they were. I believe that they were archetypes that represented forces around us that were very real and tangible. That was the beauty of a nature religion to me. Um, and I didn't believe in the magic. When I initiated into when I dedicated, excuse me, into Wicca, I didn't believe in magic, y'all, like at all. I believed like it was psychology and like placebo stuff, and I was like, yeah, you know, that's cool. And I believe magic was a real practice. Like I understood it was a real practice, but I didn't think it was a real force that could be manipulated in the universe and do things beyond our imagination. I thought it was something that was just like yeah, there's like, you just worked for it a little bit and you did rituals around it to subconsciously make it important so you would prioritize that goal. Like that's literally what I thought. And so I had no expectation of anything supernatural to happen in this ritual that I did. Arrogant, I know, and ignorant, I know. And I had studied for like 2 years almost. No, it was like a year and almost 6 months. Um, Before I did this, I had studied, but keep in mind, I didn't really have access to the internet, and I was a very Christian household, and I didn't get to go out much. But what I could access by working at the library and the few moments I could have access to the internet, like I consumed everything I could. Um, I had a lot of discernment about a lot of things. I managed to buy myself witchcraft books under the radar because I was working at my first job. So, until they were discovered. Whoa. And I went into this dedication um, reading out of the book. Oh my God, something I would never do now. Reading out of the book on how to do the ritual and saying it word for word and doing the things I could. And I didn't have like any proper tools, so I had all these ridiculous substitutes. Like I didn't have an athame, right? And I was using this ridiculous kitchen knife when I should have just like used my hand, like it would have been fine to just use my hand or my finger. But I was like, nah, it has to be like a knife. So I fucking got a kitchen knife and I had like a ridiculous bowl and I did it skyclad and I was so like nervous. Um, I did it when I knew my parents weren't gonna be home for like a few hours and my sisters wouldn't bother me in my bedroom, and I just like felt this intense power all around me when I called the gods. And I didn't know what to do. I at first felt afraid. That was my like little monkey instinct feeling to feel. It was like, oh, fear. Like this is something like powerful, and humans are threatened by things more powerful than us because we don't come across those things very often, right? We've dominated this planet essentially, and so we're not used to being prey or feeling like we could be prey. And that was very much the feeling I had, and I was like, is this really fear? Is this really fear? Or is this simply shock at the power? And so like I calmed down. I managed to be grounded, and I was just like, no, it's the ritual working. This is what it feels like. Shit, there's something to this. This shit might be real. So I was just like, okay, let's go with it. And I didn't know how to ground the energy after, so it was a little bit in my room for a while. And I think like I think intuitiveness runs in my family. Not that like practitioners really do, but like the my mother's like just sort of not really, I wouldn't describe her as intuitive, but she's kind of instinctual with stuff, and she's very manipulative, so she observes people very closely, and she had picked up on something changed. um Whereas like my dad would like dream of the future. Me and my sister both sometimes dream of the future. It's kind of weird. Anyway, it's not a reliable gift for me at all. Like I don't rely on that at all. My dreams are fucking weird. So, and the ones where you dream of the future are boring as shit. Like they're never like interesting really, or they're just confusing. But it was a way, it was the first way, coming back to the subject, that goddess Nyx would communicate with me, which made sense to me because I was like, she's, um, the personification of night. So of course she would come to people in their dreams. And she had warned me about my mother going to destroy my altar. And I should have listened to her. I thought I was just being paranoid. But Nyx literally warned me, your altar's going to be destroyed. Take the most important things with you. I did take some of my important things with me before I left it. And then when I came back, everything was gone. So I had my bare essentials, thanks to Goddess Nyx. Even though I dismissed it as me being paranoid, I still obeyed some of it, which is a good idea. Any of y'all have any questions or comments so far? I feel like I've just been burp, burp, burp. If you dropped in and didn't say hi, you should say hi. I'm very high. I'm getting higher. I'll be hungry later. Oh. Or was I? So the differences between human relationships and spirit relationships, spirit commitments. Spirit commitments aren't ones you typically just walk away from. Because if you know that you can't fully commit to a spirit, you don't do it, right? You set different boundaries, you set a different sort of criteria. I don't jump into pacts ever. The pact I have with Lilith feels more like a formality, more like a way to keep us connected. There are some things I have to fulfill in that pact, but it's not, I didn't put that much pressure on myself at the time because I knew I was like young and I knew my practice would change. She knew that as well, and so we just sort of went about it, but she really wanted to be linked to me in that way, and so we did that. So even that is not like a typical pact. I've seen some people refer to pacts when they mean like a short-term deal. That might be the best way to begin, with something small and do it all that way. I'm a witch, so I don't really do that. I don't really petition that often. If I'm petitioning, it's because I feel like I just need that extra help. And I usually do that while I do magic with the spirit. So I don't expect the spirit really to do the work for me entirely. That's just not how I do things. And that I've never been fully comfortable doing that. Typically do that about protection, money, because I'm pretty bad at getting money sometimes. I always manage to get it when I need it, but I like to be able to be more stable about it, and that's a process. I don't feel like if it's something that I don't need, if it's something that I want and I don't need, then I'm going to use my own magic to get it. And I can be under the guidance of a spirit to do so, but I personally just don't usually request that they do it for me. There are exceptions, but I just don't feel comfortable doing that. I understand, though, that most people, their way of doing magic with the demons, a lot of people didn't come from, a lot of us did come from witchcraft, but a lot of us didn't, right? And if you say you went straight into working with demons, you basically learn to make pacts and petitions and do avocations and things like that, right? Like you didn't learn how to build a spell. Like you didn't learn like any of the correspondences you would need to know to do a spell. Now you might learn that retroactively through demon correspondences. That helps, but I found that like I haven't found 3 sources that agree on all the correspondences for demons. I don't even think I found 2 that have completely syncretized correspondences unless they were just copying and pasting from the lesser key, or some version of it. Like, unless they're just copying word for word. And like, if you take those old grimoires too, like, yeah, they have a lot of overlap in their correspondences, but you'll find like there's inconsistencies or Sometimes it's just confusing because you're not sure if they just misspelled a name or if it's a different name of a fucking entity. Like, it's ridiculous. I just don't rely on those sources either. I go to the spirit and I see what energies that spirit is offering me and what that makes sense with the energies I've dealt with before. So, and I think that's due to personal symbolism for a big part. Because again, demons understanding us so well, understand our individual, like cultural lenses, for example. They understand our different ways of perceiving the world, how complex we are as human beings. And so, like, like when Satan came to me, I'll use that example. When Satan came to me, he didn't use reverse Christian imagery, and by that I mean he didn't use blasphemous satanic imagery. He used very pagan imagery to communicate with me because that's where I was coming from. I had no idea that I was going to meet Satan. I didn't believe in him at all at the time. I believed the witch's devil may have been open to me, but I believe they were completely separate. Some people still hold that, and that's fine. I think we can all agree that they have an adversarial energy about them. When I speak on Satan, I'm not talking about this very personified being that a lot of people only refer to and say is so distinct from all these other beings. Yes, I'm familiar with that, but also to me Satan's so much more than that. So much fucking more than that. And so I don't really compute when people are like, yeah, this being is more powerful than Satan. I'm like, do you even know her? Like, I like, I'm just like, wait, like, slow down. Like, for religious reasons, and I'm very polite about it. I'm like, for religious reasons, you're not gonna hear me say that I think any entity is more powerful than my Lord Satan. Like, you're not gonna hear me say that. That's not gonna happen because I don't think that. I'll never agree to that. Like, you can think it. I'm not gonna fight anybody on it. It depends on where you limit Satan, in my opinion. Depends on where you limit who Satan is. And how you see him. Her, them, it, whatever. But to me, mostly him. Mostly. That's another thing, like with gender and spirits, like it depends on, like for me, I feel like the gender should only ever matter in like either a personal or a cultural sense. Like there's a reason why certain cultures have the moon be feminine and others have the moon be masculine, and other cultures have like the sun be masculine and the moon be and the sun be feminine, like vice versa. Sorry, you know what I mean? Like in the West, we say like the feminine is passive and the masculine is active, whereas like in the East, a lot of parts of the East, it's the other way around. That the feminine is the active force and the masculine is the receptive force. So it's a matter of perception, and like also in the East, genders completely differently. Like it's not conceptualized the same way as in the West, like at all, really. Even though we translate words like man and woman and whatever. Sorry, now I'm trying to get on gender politics, but what I'm trying to say is some people get really stuck on like Astaroth is male or Astaroth is female, or androgynous, whatever. I say they come to you in what you need to see. With the demons, especially. With demons, the gender really doesn't fucking matter. They're beings of chaos. Alright, y'all have been real quiet. Say something. I'm lonely over here. I went live to talk to y'all. I need a second to gather myself. We might as well be productive in that. And if you are talking and I'm not seeing it, I'm sorry for being like, where's my water? You watch me get progressively stoned and make less and less sense. I found also that my perception of spirit relationships has been radically changed since initiating through the flip flop. Since beginning my initiation. Still initiating, technically. I used to have more of like this distance between myself and my spirits. It used to be more like at arm's length, you know? It used to be more formal. And it still is in many ways, and it still should be. And parts of it will always be maintained in that way. But I've found it daunting how tangible a lot of my relationships with spirits have become. And that's made it hard sometimes uh like it's made it easy to make new human relationships, I think. Like it's made it easy for me to meet more people and just be and feel like some of my needs are fulfilled, so I'm not like so um critical of myself upon like I don't know, upon meeting new people. I'm more open to like more casual friendships where I used to really demand very deep connected friendships, and I still crave that from people, of course, and I still have that with some people in my life, but I don't seek it as much anymore. I'm okay with more lighthearted interactions now because I have so much more going on within that not everyone needs to participate in or know about on a personal level. Um, yes, I share it here, but that's because I feel like I'm just shouting into the void and that's something I enjoy doing. Uh, like sometimes y'all shout back, but for the most part, like I don't think much of it. I feel like the people who want to seek that content find me, and those are the people that really are going to find me. People who are not interested in it don't have to hear about it. I never hide it though. If people ask me, like, if I'm in a place where I'm safe anyway, people ask me, "Oh, what's up with that necklace? It's very pretty." Like, a lot of people complimented my necklace that is Astaroth sigil when I would go out and about, and some people would be like, "Is that a pentagram or is that something else?" And I would just be like, "Oh, it's the sigil of Astaroth." And they'd be like, What is that?" And I'd be like, "Oh, it's the symbol of a spirit." And they asked me, I had like one customer at the shop be like, "What's the energy? What's the energy?" He asked me, and I was like, "How much time do you have, sir? I don't want to keep you here." I was just like, "Oh, like she's really helpful. I mean, I love her. I find her beautiful and kind, and also very strict. She's very good at getting me out of my rut." And he was like, "Oh, sweet." Like, just went on his way. Like, you'd be surprised how many people are just okay with. They're okay with being curious if you don't throw too much at them, you know. And who knows? Maybe you help somebody find a spirit in the future. Like maybe that'll be a sign for them later on in life. So, I don't know, or maybe it's a sign for you. Either way, I think divinity has a lot of sway over our over not our behavior, but our chance when we're likely to do something. They're like, "Okay, now it's time to see if I can like push this around so that you come across this and because I think you'll react this way." I think they play around with us a little bit. It's a little scary, but all right, if I'm boring y'all, I'll wrap it the fuck up. It's getting kind of late. My main deal is no matter what sort of relationship you have with spirits, but especially divinity, um, it's a great honor to have it. Think about how many people never get to experience that. Think about, like, I think back on my life before Satan, and I feel like it was a waste. It wasn't a waste because it led me here, but my initial reaction to it was like, oh my gosh, I wasted all those years without Satan. And by that I mean, like, I'm just so grateful to have had these experiences because I didn't know what I was missing out on. Don't go around bragging to people about what they're missing out on. That's not kind. Everyone has the potential to experience this, I think. Um, but make sure you express gratitude with your spirits about them being in your life, about the knowledge they've given you, about the power, healing, whatever you've received from them. Um, because it's rare. As as it's becoming more common anyway, it's rare amongst the world, and it's a beautiful thing to experience. So I hope y'all have a good night. I'm gonna wrap up and make myself a second dinner because I'm very hungry. But thank you to those who joined in. Thank you to those who were talking in chat. Appreciate it. Have a good night.